Yes, guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see from the thumbnail, it's player ratings time. Liverpool's played 11 games in the Premier League. I think we played around 4 games in the Champions League and also that 3-0 defeat to Palace in the League Cup. So what's that? 15, 16 games we've played so far. So I thought, why not? While we've got the international break, let's see where the players are in terms of our ratings and standings and how they've been doing so far this season. I think a few of them is going to be very, very low in my opinion. But also, guys, before we get started, make sure you're smashing a like, obviously subscribing to the channel if you're here to do so. And also let me know what your ratings are for the players as well in the comment section as well. But without further ado, man, let's get into it because we're not going to be here for too long. Let's see where we're at. So let's go to this page. Let's go here. Who do we start with first? Let's go with eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Joe Gomez. Where are we putting Joey G? Are we putting him in key player? No. Good player? No. Backup player? Trash. And what's the point? I'm going to throw him in backup player. Look, he hasn't played enough games so far this season. We haven't utilized him as much as we should have this season. So I can't put him in trash because I don't think his performances have been bad. And also, I'm not going to put him in he could actually fluctuate into what's the point. That's a good shout, actually. He could, you know what? I'm going to put him in there. What's the point? Because look, when there's moments when the Bradley was injured, Frimpong was injured. Joe Gomez would have been ideal replacement in that moment. Arne Slot decided to go with Soberslay, and I'm like, nah, that doesn't make sense. You've got a defender there. You might as well use a defender. Obviously, his thinking is he doesn't want to get Gomez injured because he's only the only fit senior centre-back we have available. Also, games when, Konate hasn't been up to scratch. He could have put Joe Gomez in those games and given him game time and minutes just to see if he could be a solution for us. I'm going to leave him in. What's the point? I honestly believe there's so much left in Joe Gomez, but we are where we are now. The manager don't trust some of these players. Trey, let's go with one of the youngsters. I'm going to go. What's the point? I think Trey is a very, very talented football player. And I think there's a future and a bright future at Liverpool Football Club for him. But it means you have to trust and play these type of players. When there's moments when McAllister has not been up to scratch, there's been the injury to Gravenberch. You'd hope like you're looking at these players, the ones that are training with the first team, the ones that you think there could be a future. Give them the opportunity. You won't know. Look, you got Miles Lewis Skelly. A lot of people rant and rave about him. If he didn't get the opportunity, would everyone know what he's like? O'Reilly at Manchester City, without giving the opportunity to think he would have been doing what he's doing. Oscar Bob as well at Manchester City. If players are not given the opportunities to play, then you're never going to know if they're good enough or not. So I'm going to put him in what's the point as well. Let's go with Alexander Isak. He hasn't actually played, really. The games he's played, good runs, but not so good. He's got 1 goal so far, injured when he came to us, or should I say unfit, and we had to get him up to full fitness. And then he got injured for around a month with a groin injury. He's now back, so fingers crossed. After this international break, he can come back and show what he's about. But I don't know where to put him. I think he's a good player. I think has he been a good? Nah, he's been more of a backup type of player, hasn't he? Really, people. He's been more of a backup, to be fair. Because then the other guy, when we get to him, he's been the more standout for me. So I think Alexander Isak hasn't had the opportunity to prove yet, but fingers crossed after this international break, he can show us what he's about. Federico Chiesa. Don't know why I did an Italian accent then. Might have been rubbish, to be fair. What's the point? What's the point? Mo Salah, not been that great. Gakpo, not been that great. But Chiesa, for some reason, is not given the opportunity to come and shine and show what he's about in this squad. But when he has done so, he's scored, assisted, ran his heart out, showed fight, showed grit, showed determination. But for some reason, the manager is not trusting him to play. I am hoping things change, but it doesn't look like it's going to. But we've got a player on the bench that's willing to give everything, and we don't want to utilize him. Let's go with Rio Grande. What is the point? Rio, for me, is one of the most talented young footballers in the country right now, but not given the opportunity to shine. The only time he's giving him the opportunity is when we're losing, which makes no sense because you're putting him in a more pressured environment to go and make the difference. But when you're winning the game, those are the games I think you should put him on in, because then he's coming into an environment where the confidence is high and the confidence is good, and less so the opposition. I will be so upset if we allow the development of Rio to slip, or he just goes by the wayside, and then he doesn't become the player I envision him becoming. And I'm sure many of you guys watching thinks the same as well in terms of how talented he is. Yes, he is young, but I go back to what I said about Trey. You won't know with these players unless you play them. Pedri played at a young age. Kabasi at Barcelona started playing in the first team from when he was 16, I think it was, or 15, something like that. He was been playing. Pedri's played from a young age. And I'm not saying he's on the ilk or the level of these players, but what I mean is you won't know how good a player is until you put them in the deep end and say, let's see if you can swim. Yes, sometimes it could affect the player in a massive way, but sometimes you can see, right, he's got it. He's got it. But we need to just harness it. So it means game time and minutes so he can get used to, the Premier League and him developing as a player as well. But letting him sit there cold for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games and then bringing him in when we're losing is not an ideal situation. McAllister, trash straight away. I don't even have to think about it. It doesn't mean that him as a player, in terms of what he did last year or overall, he's a trash player. It's what he's doing this season. And how he's playing this season, he has been trash. The manager's come out and said he's been unfit. He didn't get preseason, but we've been trying to play him into fitness. So I'm like, okay, so the manager's not only let him down in that instance, because now you're playing him unfit to help him boost his fitness, which making him look even worse than what he is. But he hasn't hit the ground running this season yet. We've played 17 games and he's played pretty much most of them, and he hasn't shown the McAllister of last season. So he sits in trash for me. Let's go with Wataru Endo. What's the point? What's the point? I don't even see there's a reason why he's on the bench. He's never going to be utilized. He's never going to be used. So why do we have him in our team? The guy you'd say is the most, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? He's the best defensive midfielder we have in the team in terms of, from a mindset of thinking as a defensive midfielder. I want to protect and put fires out. The other midfielders are more, they can do a job there, but that's not what they embody, that side of their game. Wataru's that. So what's the point? There's times when you could utilize his skill sets and rest another player, but for some reason, we don't want to use him. And I want to know what you guys think about him as well. Um, Kirkes, I'm gonna put him in here, trash, right? And I'm putting him in here solely because of how he's been used, but also there's been moments where I've gone, yeah, that's not good enough either. So I'm putting him in there solely because he's been used as an inverted centre back. So we're playing this three at the back in build up. And I'm like, that's not his game. I watched him in the Hungary game last night and he looked superb in that game, being played as an actual natural fullback, up and down, tackles, creativity there, and he looks so much better, so much more comfortable in that position. But for some reason, we're using him as an inverted centre back. Doesn't make sense. So he's going there solely because of the way he's been used, and a few games where I've gone, yeah, that's a bit shaky, my guy. Anthony Robinson. I'm going to say key player since he stepped back into the first team. I think he's been a key member to the squad, and he's kind of settled us down, especially the Villa Real Madrid game. Obviously, we got moved to by Manchester City, but I thought in terms of his individual game, he's played really well as well. So since he's come back in, I think he's been somewhat of a key player for us, in my opinion. Let's go with Frimpong. I'm gonna go back up for now because similar to Alexander Isak, he's had an indifferent start. Started off really well in the Community Shield, scored his goal, started the first Premier League game, looked good, and then hamstring injury comes back, shaky against Southampton, then being utilized as a sub, played right wing against Galatasaray, then now injured again. So he's had a kind of stop start season so far. So I think similar to Alexander Isak's so far. Leone, I'm gonna put I'm gonna throw him in here as well. No, actually, I might put him in here and say, what's the point? Okay. And the reason why I'm gonna put him in, what's the point? Not to knock him as a player, but we signed him with the big hype around him being one of the young centre backs, one of the most upcoming one. I saw the top defenders, Nestas and the Maldini, speak highly about this guy, and about the way he reads the game and stuff like that. Tall kid, looks like he's got a bit of speed about him, looks like he's got something about him, but we didn't use him. We just had him there, just sitting there, warming the bench, warming, and we didn't even use him. And in the one game we put him in, he gets an ACL injury, so he's now out for the whole season. So it's like, what was the point of getting him if you weren't going to try and utilize him? Do you know what I mean? We bought him for big money. I think, don't, let me know in the comment section, guys, but I think he was around 35 million we bought him for. So it's not chump change. It's not, we didn't spend like a 5 million on him. It's big money for a centre back at his age at 18 as well. So yeah, I just didn't like that. I didn't like that we didn't want to use him. And then the first time we used him is like, and then people are probably gonna say, when do you use him then, Enz? When do you use him? All right, games like Bournemouth when we were winning, games like Burnley when we were dominating the game. He could have come on and played in that game. He could have easily played in that game. So yeah, I'm not blaming him just playing for the first time and then he got injured on the manager, but I felt like there was games and minutes you could have given him so he can get his body used to the intensity of what we're trying to do in the league. Um, Woodman was I don't know if what's the point. He's going to be a backup, isn't he? Really, he's not going to. You're probably never going to get to see him play, and fingers crossed. And it's not a knock on him. If he's playing, that means Mamadashvili's injured. That means Alisson's injured. So I'm going to throw him in back up. I haven't. We've not been able to see him play yet. So he's just just a backup for now. Let's go with Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones for me is in very a good player, I should say, good player, but he can't move into key for me because he's not being used, if that makes sense. I think he can become a key player for us if he's actually played because of his skill sets he has, which none of the other players have that about them in terms of that arrogance on the ball, off the ball, you know, and the idea of retaining possession, and that's his job, and he never loses it. You got to check his passing stats; it's always in the 90s. So he could move up to key for me, but at the moment he's only in good because he's not getting enough game time for me to move forward. Which is a knock, man. I hate that, to be fair, man, but it is what it is. Let's go with Allison as well, man. Allison is key. He's a key player. Don't get me wrong, but these injuries need to stop. I don't know what it is like. They see every season now. At the moment, there's a hamstring or a quad or some sort of muscular injury that's keeping him out. And then the uncertainty builds in, and you have to reshuffle, and it's just kind of all over the place. But since he's in the squad for us, the amount of one-on-one saves he's made so far this season kept us in games. Even games when we're up and we should be comfortable, he's still called upon to make these mad saves. Yes, he's a goalkeeper, so he has to do his job, but he's a key for me this season. He's been very key for us. Let's complete the goalkeeping trio. Mamadashvili. I'm going to put him in good player. I think obviously because Alisson's been injured, he's had to step in, and I think he's been good. To be fair, I think he's been good. He's made some top saves. Yes, we've conceded a hell of a lot of goals, but none of them are put down to errors from him or chances I think he could have saved. I think most of the goals that I've seen, if I remember correctly, maybe you guys can tell me otherwise, but most of the goals I've seen we conceded hasn't been down to an error from him. But let me know in the comment section. So I think good player so far. Let's go with Cody Gakpo. Let's go with Cody. Where does Cody go? Where does Cody go? Cody, not a key player for me yet. Good player, backup. I think Cody for me, right? I think he's in between either good player or backup. Reason why I say good player, I think his goal contribution so far at the start of the season hasn't been bad, but there's games when he could have done better. I think more my own issue with him at times is I feel like he can do a bit more because we've all seen as Liverpool fans, right? We've seen the games when Cody Gakpo is just on it. He's woke up on the day and said, I'm cooking everyone today. Strong, fast, powerful, getting shots off, scoring goals, the arrogance in the celebration. But then there's games when he's just like, nah. And he's just like, bro, like you've gone missing, like we can't see you. You're a bit slight on the ball here, losing that duel there. So I don't know if like we need a replacement for him, which you get someone that is going to be a good or a key player, and then he's the backup. I'm going to put him in good. I'm going to put him in good. I think some of the performances people have said about him this season has been out of proportion in terms of how bad he was bad in the game. I don't see it because the games I can remember people saying he's been bad. Um, I didn't think that like the Man United one, they said he was bad, but I was like, nah, he was just unlucky in that game, for an example. So I'm going to put him in good player, but I also believe he could have probably been in a backup player as well. Um, let's go with let's go with Kanate. Kanate for me, I'm gonna put him in good player, right? And I get it. So people are gonna firstly say, "Enz, what are you doing, bro? He's been trash. He should be a backup. What's the point? Because he potentially is gonna go to Real Madrid." I can hear all of the arguments because I'm sure there's gonna be a list of that in the chat. That's fine, not a problem. I'm only gonna give you my opinion. For me, I think it makes more sense keeping a Kanate than losing a Kanate. And if we're talking about his season so far, yes, he started off a little bit shaky in a couple of games, but since then he's done really well. But there's obviously odd games, like for an example, what can I put out there? The Man City game, people, that's the most recent one in that I can think of where people are like, he's not good, trash, he should have done better, blah, 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 blah. But also I want to show you guys in terms of, yes, I can't equate for like individual errors and misplaced passes and all of that stuff. Even though the passing thing is out of proportion, because as I said, and hopefully you guys went and watched the last video. If you haven't already, please go and check that out in terms of Kanate's contract. And I spoke about, you guys go and check and see what his passing accuracy is, because I think that's mostly what people have an issue with. And then some would say it's consistency. But I feel like he's been a lot more consistent in a good way than a negative way so far this season. But yeah, I think it's worthwhile keeping him, and I think he's been a good player this season. But as and I would agree with the consistency part. We need a little bit better than that. And also, I would agree that there was been some games where I'm like, nah, it's kind of crazy, But I'm not going to make any excuse. I'm just going to tell you what I think. But I could also understand the argument of putting him in backup trash, or what's the point? I can understand it to an extent, but for me, good player. Bradley. Bradley for me can be a good player for us, but also he can be in a backup. I rate him highly as a footballer, right? Because when I look at a footballer, I look at what is he like on the ball, how does he view the game, and then I try and look at the natural ability. So he's fast. I think he's got a decent bit of passing on him in terms of short to mid range. We saw the long range getting executed a lot more in terms of the Real Madrid game. What's his tackling like 1v1, stuff like that. But obviously the Doku game, running past him. But I felt like even with that, it was still unfair a little bit, because I felt like he tried in that game. Doku's just a really powerful runner and a really tricky and explosive winger. So most people struggle with that. I feel like the extreme is how well he did against Vinny in the Champions League. So then Doku was a completely different weapon he had to face. But I don't want to just go, yeah, because Doku did well against him, that means I should forget what he did against Vinny and how well he played in those games. And I always look at how comfortable a player looks on the ball and if he makes me feel comfortable when he's on it. Not saying everyone's going to be the same. I'm sure people are going to differ in their opinions in that. But for me, I think he's a good player. But because he's got such a big shoes to fill in terms of what Trent has left, it's going to be so difficult for him to fill Trent's shoes because of how Trent played and the passing range he had. But Bradley's a completely different fullback than what Trent is. But also as well, I just don't like the way Bradley's being used. The only thing I said I wanted to see Bradley improve on going into the season was that final ball, the final product, the cutback, the cross. And I've seen a couple of really good ones, but I've also seen some really bad ones where there's no weight on it when he's pulled it back or cut it back. So um, I'm gonna put him in good for now. But I could understand the argument of a backup as well, depending on the type of right back you would like at your football team as well. So I could understand it. Let's go with Gravenberch. Um, I think he's just been good so far this season. He hasn't been key yet. Last season, he was a key player for me. And obviously, we're in the jersey. Well, I say jersey, we're in the hoodie. I keep saying jersey, man. It's crazy. But yeah, last season I think he was in the key for us. But this season, I don't think he's been as effective as he was last season. Yes, he's had some really, really good games, but he hasn't been like what last season looked like, where he was massively effective in how we want to play. I think there is kind of a connection to all of this as well, why the players are not doing what they do, i.e., a certain gaffer not playing them how we should, and going back to what we were doing last season and why we won the Premier League. But I digress. But yeah, I think Graver's good player. Ekatike, let's put him in there, man. Key player. Look, this guy is him, guys. He is him. The only thing I needed to see before we signed him, I saw one game, and I was just like, I was sold. Big up to Sav for like, yo, that's the guy. When everyone was hyping about Marmouche, you said, nah, that's the guy we need to have a look at. So I was like, okay, cool, my guy. Let me have a look then. Watch the one game, and I was like, yeah, sold. I'm sold. Get him in now. Buy him right now. If Newcastle would have signed this guy, I ain't even gonna lie. If you see Watermaid, he's gone there and scored some goals now. I think he would have probably been second top goal scorer if he was playing there. Because they create chances for their strikers and we don't. He's feeding off of scraps within our team, and he scored 7 goals so far. And he's feeding off of scraps. Did you? I hope you guys saw his first goal for France yesterday, because man, he picked it up over on that left hand side, dropped the shoulder, sprint past a couple of men, played a little 1-2, and then wrapped it in. He is him, key player for me. He's done so well so far this season. There's a few games that he weren't involved in it, but I think that's more us than him. I think more us than him. Let's go with Mohamed Salah. I'm gonna put him in trash. And the reason why I'm gonna put him in trash is because he is not hitting the levels he hit last season. And I don't need him to hit the levels he's hitting last season, but he's declining slightly. If we're gonna be honest, guys, he is declining slightly. His performances has not been that great. And I praised him in the Villa game, the Real Madrid game, because I thought he was really good in those games. But maybe I'm over, hyping it because I saw him involved in the game. And when he's involved in the game, Liverpool are a better team. When he's outside the game, we're trying to force it to him when he's not in the game, and it affects the whole squad. A bit of unselfishness I've seen this so far this season as well. When I get to the next player, that's the one. Florian Wirtz not passing in areas where I'm like, yep. Games against Chelsea and Man United, if you guys go and look back, there's moments when he could have passed that and we could have probably got the goal, and not probably, we would have, and then we would have been in the lead and potentially go on to win the game. But it's below his standards. It's way below the standards he set himself this season. last season, how he set his standards, and I'm sure he set himself because he is a world class player, but he set, that means he would have set his standards really high, and then this season he's not really hit that, and it winds me up, man, because I'm just like, I know he's better than this, and it's just like he's not doing it. So, and partly the manager as well, like all the other players, he's not for me now, guys. Honest time now, he's not a right winger no more for me. I feel that we should put him more centrally. I think we should find the system or formation where he can play as a second striker or as a striker as well with someone else, and give the winger to someone else. Give the winger to Frimpong if you need to. Give the winger to Gakpo that side, or whatever Chiesa, whatever you need to do. Just give the wings to guys that want to be wingers, and then put him up front because he wants to score goals. And with a Salah closer to goal, that means there's goals. That means he will score. That means he'll get the goals as well. And he can create from a more central position as well. And I think that will just give him, sometimes when he's been in that position for like how many years now? 9 years, 10 years, whatever. Like his whole career has been like a right winger, hasn't he? So he might be even bored of it as well, bro. He knows you need to play in a different position to give you a different energy. I don't know. You guys let me know, man. But his performances this season hasn't been great at all. Virgil van Dijk, I don't want to put him in key. I think he's been good, but yeah, I'm actually I'll keep him in key actually. Because if he's not at the back, let's be honest, bro. This man ain't at the back, it's all over the place. But he has put up some shaky performances and some questionable performances this season. Look, he's the best defender in the world, in my opinion. But he has done some stuff where I'm just like, yeah, my guy, man. You keep shouting at Kirkes and not leading properly. You keep throwing these little tantrums I don't like. Backing off against Caicedo, I didn't like that, because I'd rather you force him into making the decision than make the decision for him. I felt like you just allowed him to think and had time to execute what he wanted to do. I didn't like that. What other games as well? What other games? The Man City game as well. Just like, yeah, I don't know, guy. I don't know. Robbo telling you to stay. You decided to tell Robbo, no, we need to swap. By the time in transition of doing the swap, they play it out there across the ball in the box, and I'm like, no, you should have just listened to Robbo and wait for the right moment. When they had to go backwards, then we could have swapped. But you waited while they were moving it across the back line. You decided to unsettle the back line. Cross comes in. Bob's your uncle. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. But look, hopefully he can fix up. But I'll leave him in key for now. Like, might as well put him at the front of the queue, bro. Like this brother right now, the legs that he's basically doing everyone's jobs. He's basically doing everyone's jobs. Outstanding player this season so far. Like I think all of his games. I don't think I've had a game where I've gone, yeah, that ain't like Sober. Maybe the City game. But we're talking about game week 16 right now, after all the Champions League games, League Cup games, Premier League games. That we're talking about one game potentially where he wasn't at his best. So for me, so far, he's our player of the season. Like we're quarter of the way through. He's our player of the season for me. And then Florian Wirtz, indifferent for me. I know he's a very good player. He's not a key player for us so far. I know he's a good player. But at the moment, he's in here. He might be in here. Because he is doing his job by creating opportunities, right? So we can all agree on that, chat, right? We can agree on that. He's creating the opportunities for his team. I think I saw the stat. It was like 30 chances so far created, but only 3 assists. So when you hear 3 assists and no goals, you go, should be in the backup, right? But then when you hear 30 chances created, you're like, no, he's been a good player then, because he's creating and the other guys are not putting it away. Like Julian Nagelsmann said, look, obviously Liverpool is not a settled team at the moment, but his teammates could help him put away these chances, like put away the chances he's creating. And I saw a compilation as well. I might post it on my X so you guys can see if you want to follow me on X, guys can follow me there. I might post it on there. There's a compilation with when he's in great positions and we've not passed it to him. And you're like, these are tap-ins. But also, like, you look back at the Palace game when he gets a good opportunity, it's like a slight touch on you, like, should do better there. Brentford, the one on his left foot, you thought he could have, instead of hitting the lace, you could have probably add a little bend on it. But I'm gonna drop him in good player, guys. I'm gonna put him in there, but I won't argue with anyone in the comment section if you want to put him in backup. I might argue if you put him in trash because I don't think he's been trash, and I don't think it's what's the point either. But there you guys have it, man. I don't have Arne Slot, and I wish I do. If I did, I would love it. But I'm gonna use this Liverpool. I'm gonna use the Liverpool logo, the Liverpool crest, the liver bird, as Arne Slot, and I'm gonna put him in trash because this man has not been able to get the best out of Mo Salah, Rio, Chiesa, McAllister, Alexander Isak, Frimpong, and I'm sure I can continue to name names. I'm sure I can continue. Gravenberch, he hasn't been able to get the best out of him. Florian Wirtz hasn't been able to get the best out of him. Curtis Jones, not the best out of him. Ekatike, you would say as well. He hasn't been able to get Ekatike, apart from the manager, he's been able to do what he needs to do to show what type of player he is without the manager. Really, if we're being honest, we're not creating enough chances. We ain't even creating chances for him. Soboslai is just running on hard work and grafting. That's nothing to do with the manager. That's just him as a player. So who is he actually getting the best out of? So I think Arne Slot has been trash so far. And that's one of the reasons why I don't want this guy at the football team at the moment. Thank you for winning us the Premier League, but we are a big team and we can't have this. Look at the players. Look at the players we have, guys, and we can't get the best out of these guys. He can't get the best out of these. Can't get a tune out of these guys. But we want to add more to it. Semenyo to this. We want to add probably a Wharton to this. We want to add, who else are names? I've heard Bastoni, I've heard Slotterbeck, I've heard Gay. Like, we want to add these players to what we currently have, but we can't get the best out of what we have. And every one of the players that we're talking about, he's adding, is only one attacker and the rest are defenders. So are we saying we get the defenders and then we score goals? Because at the end of the day, even if we're conceding, it doesn't stop us from scoring, right? Our transition looks poor. The combinations look poor. The players look like they don't know each other in the attacking sense. So even if we get other defenders, it don't matter because they have to come in and try and learn what the other guys are doing as well. If a system isn't put in place, if a formation isn't put in place, if a style of play isn't put in place, we are going to be stuck. And we are not going to be able to move forward. But there you guys have it. I want to know what you guys think in the comment sections. So let me know. I'll try and reply to as many as I possibly can. Let me know the ones you agree with, the ones you disagree with. The only thing I ask you guys to do is keep it respectful. That's it. That's it. That's all I ask for. And I don't think that's a massive ask. I think it's just a normal ask. If you want me to reply, if you want me to, conversate with you guys in there, just keep it respectful. Let me know your thoughts though, in terms of whether you disagree or agree, because I don't expect you to agree with everything I just said. You're going to disagree with some of where I put them, and I kind of know which ones as well. But let's see what you guys think. But listen, if you watched it this far, drop a like, subscribe to the channel as well, and hopefully have a live for you guys very, very soon. If not, and you're new, go and watch some of the ones that we've got up already, man, because there's quite a few that we have on the channel. But catch you guys soon, man. Peace out.